Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Interesting week. We have the US election. Hopefully the results are coming out soon. Depends if you're listening to the press or not. They might well be delayed. And unfortunately, we're going into another month's lockdown. So we just want to wish all our customers and connections all the best through, again, what I'm sure for a lot of people and families will be an unsettling period, both personally and within their businesses. But let's hope that this lockdown is leading to something that's going to be positive and allow us all to get our families together for what will be hopefully a brilliant Christmas period. But on to the topic of discussion today. And welcome, Will. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Adam. Thanks for having me.
No, brilliant. It's brilliant to have you on here. Will, you're head of workplace at 180 Group. And I understand today our discussions are going to be focused around how is the workplace and FM preparing for the future. So on that subject, COVID obviously hit us a little bit out of the blue, but our workplace and changed our workplace sort of overnight. But it's been on a rapid cycle of change for, I think, really the last sort of 5 to 10 years. We've seen lots of different pieces of engagement coming in, lots of different thoughts and processes. Do you think that the pandemic has actually changed the direction, or do you think that it's just sped the trajectory that we're already on up?
I think nothing has changed drastically, and as a good friend of mine, Mark Haynes, keeps saying, there is no new. What 2020 has been, it's been a shot in the arm for a lot of organisations on how to manage their estates and their facilities. If anything, this pandemic has accelerated the way in which work is evolving, and from that, what it's kind of done is expose people that might not have been exposed to thinking how they approach workplace differently, how they do their individual work differently, different scenarios, different locations. So what it's done is it's really kind of amplified that thinking and taken it to a wider audience, which I think, despite all the disruption and the hardship that has come with this, that is a positive thing that we can take out of this episode.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of, well, I think one is put the FM function on the roadmap, which is good for us. And I think that what it's created is the opportunity to create something that's really flexible and really suits human needs going into the future, because businesses have been able to run without large offices and everybody coming in. And what I would say is that old sort of presenteeism sort of attitude, which is brilliant. But we talked around, it's sort of put FM on the map slightly and workplace management on the map. Where do you see sort of the FM role at the moment and in this current situation? What do you think the FMs should be contributing to their businesses?
The current situation, the focus needs to be on people. We talk about human-centric a lot in the workplace and the FM industry, and often it's just a headline used to sell a solution, a predefined product. And it's, well, are we actually thinking about people-centric services and designs? And what this pandemic has kind of thrown up and amplified over the past 7-8 months, however long it is now, we've all forgotten, is there's a lot more friction points in the way people need to work, and what the FM's role kind of has become is kind of ensuring that there's less friction and there's that flow of people, be it in a physical realm, a cognitive realm, or a digital realm. So I think the focus, and I see this focus kind of growing more and more, and we're probably coming back to it after a number of years of losing it. But it without sounding like Tony Blair and education, it's about people, and ensuring that people's well-being is priority on everything, physical and mental well-being, that their experience with workplace and facilities is enhanced, and there's not the frustrations that they find, be it I need somewhere to sit, or the environment's not right or conducive to the way I'm working. This setting's not correct, and really focusing and around that bubble, around where a person operates, rather than the four walls, the 9 to 5, and the doors that they come in and out of. That responsibility has stopped, and that responsibility is for better or worse. I won't make a judgment on it, but that responsibility has kind of bled into people's personal lives and their home lives and these other spaces where that divide has become a bit more muddy. So I think the FM really needs to ensure that there's less friction, there's less pinch points, there's less frustrations, and it's all about people flow now.
And I guess that's probably one of the biggest challenges in some of these businesses that have really been focusing FM on, as you say, the four walls and the bricks and mortar and what's happening within them. So highly focused on maintaining the building, highly focused on sort of keeping the lights on, the doors open as such. When you start adding people into that mix, and you're asking someone to build solutions and manage process and procedures that support suddenly a very diverse, multi-sited workforce. Suddenly you're asking FM to change from bricks and mortar very much into an FM people sort of function, which is not necessarily it's very different to HR in my mind. But it is still caring about the person. It's creating an environment for them to work in. So do you think that this is actually, because we've been talking about it for years, that FM is about people, but it's sort of been very slow to change in that direction. Do you think now that this is a really big shot in the arm, that FM can really be now successful and focusing on the people and how they use the environment they're in, rather than the bricks and mortar?
I mean, I certainly hope so, and it's always been my understanding of that's what facilities management is. The technical aspect and the compliance aspect and the physical artifacts and assets that are managed. That's one side of the equation, and it's an important side of the equation, but it's only a certain amount. Facilities management as a discipline is a social science, and therefore, people and how they interact with space and each other and in the digital and physical realms is fundamental to the discipline. Now, anyone who thinks facilities management, that's not an area of focus for them. They probably need to have a long look in the mirror at themselves, because it's you're there to support the business and the organization, the people that make up that business. You're there, you might not delight the client. Facilities managers stuck in the basement, it's often hard to delight the client. But at the end of the day, enhancing that experience, that workplace experience for those people to concentrate on the jobs that they do is absolutely vital. And irrelevant of the nuts and bolts aspect of it, there's that human aspect is always going to come out the most important artifact of all this. So I think it's been discussed in the past that it is a kind of a people function, and it's important in that respect. I believe it always has been. I believe maybe there's a few things where it's kind of got lost in its ways over recent years. Certainly when I started in facilities management, it was just as the banking crisis was kicking off, and we were feeling the wave of that. And when I went into my first junior role in facilities management, it was very much about service and giving people in that finance company a really, really good service. As the purse strings tightened, as the recession kind of kicked in, that service started getting pulled back, and it was looking at what needs to be done, not what should be done to delight people, what needs to be done. So we lost stuff like concierge services, postal services, all these what some people would deem soft, but kind of when you've got developers getting paid a lot of money to develop expensive systems, they want to concentrate on that work and not be distracted, not meet these friction points. So I kind of was living and breathing this thing where these services were slowly taken away, and we're now talking about building up those kind of services again and how important they are. So we've kind of recognised that it's coming full circle, and it's not about reducing things to try and keep overheads low and maximise profits for service providers. It's about actually saying, no, look, we will give you the best we can possibly give you, so you can do your job. And if we can make that work for you, you're going to be happy. You're going to be productive. We're going to keep this thing, ticking over and excelling in certain places. So yeah, we've seen it kind of get pulled apart. We're seeing it getting rebuilt, and the agenda changing. And for me, that's a really positive thing, because the light bulb has been switched on, and people say, "Oh no, actually, people do matter, and providing a really good service is absolutely essential."
Yeah, it was interesting. So chatting to somebody the other day, and they said, "What makes a successful facilities manager?" And I said, "Connecting both people and the buildings, and creating something that delights anybody on a journey." Mm-hmm. If you take the building and you concentrate on the building, you won't be successful. If you just concentrate on the people, you also won't be successful. It's when you can get the opportunity to sort of bring everything together, that's when you create something that truly adds value to a business. Because if you, as you rightly say, if you make people more productive, happier in their working environment, you offer them the services they need to be at work, the chances are you're going to get more from them. And, again, it's moving away from this 9 to 5, isn't it? Businesses used to be, you come in at 9, you finish at 5. Mm-hmm. World has changed. We're sort of open 24 hours a day. And we find that it's one of the things I remember one place I was working, we stopped the Amazon deliveries coming in.
We've done that.
Completely incorrect.
Mm-hmm.
Because then people, couldn't stay later and go and collect them and everything else. And it was quite funny, because people actually then started taking time off to go home and collect their Amazon packages. And we just weren't facilitating them being at work and making it easy for them to be at work. So I think there's lots of things that we can do. And I think it's great that this question's just come in. Do you see this as an opportunity or a threat for FM professionals? And we were talking offline the other day, and one of the things I'd noticed is this kind of woes me attitude in some parts of the FM community. Yep. And now the buildings are closed, my job's gone. And I'm kind of thinking, well, hang on a minute. I'm thinking, if I was now looking after a building in London where I've got 3,000 people in one location, and I can manage them in that location, that's really easy. Now I've got 3,000 people all across the country that's really going to be difficult to control. Understanding their working environment, their desk space, their chairs, you name it, all just the basics. I mean, what's your thoughts on this? Do you think this is a real opportunity for FM to come out and shine, or do you think this is a threat to the FM professionals?
It's a massive opportunity. It's only a threat if they allow it to be a threat. And it's kind of, as you were saying, you've now got multiple locations, or multiple types of locations to consider. Not just different offices, but you've got the office, you've got the home, you've got the third space, all these different considerations. And I suppose it's up to the FM to say, okay, how do we take what we know and what we've been doing for so many years, and how doing it really well, because FMs are really good at doing stuff, not so quick to change, but they are really good at doing stuff once they get their teeth into it. And how do we translate it to the office and the home and the third space? Again, removing all that friction and having that flow of information and knowledge so people can work. And it could be as simple as we take what needs to be done in the office. Let's look at I noticed where the question came from, so I'll say let's look at physical ergonomic health with people. Okay, we can control that within the office quite easily, because we can police it. There's policies in place. The health and safety legislation, it looks after that. But when it comes to ergonomic health within within the home or third space, it's slightly different. So there's an opportunity there to say, right, what can we create and how can we communicate and educate people? To take, I don't know if this is the right word, but to take a bit more responsibility in their personal well-being, but give them the tools and the information and the assistance that they need. And it's not a case of, right, we're just walking around and doing DSE assessments, for example, but giving them control so they can make the right choices in their right environment. How many home offices are set up to be ergonomically friendly? Mine's certainly not. It's absolutely terrible. But I don't have the space to make an ergonomically friendly workstation at the moment. And it's right. Well, if I was working for a large organization, what can the facilities management team do to support me in this? Most organizations have been really good, and they'll be sending employees home with the right equipment to the best of their ability. You can't send everything home, obviously, and I think that's where an opportunity, or just one of many opportunities, lies. And suddenly the FM becomes that knowledge hub within the organization. Your HR might set a policy and might communicate the initial policy, but as soon as it's communicated, all the questions come in, and how does this work? How do we do that? How are we supposed to use this piece of equipment? It goes through to the FM. So it's putting them on a knowledge pedestal to kind of educate their colleagues.
Well, this is one of the things. So I noticed very quickly that lots of businesses were obviously changing their IT strategy, as an example. So outcomes, all the laptops, the home working stations, anything they need to keep their team working at home. And having spoken to a number of people, what didn't happen was that discussion around the office environment and their working environment. So IT got all the equipment out they needed, and that's brilliant. But did they have a desk to put it on? Where were they working from? What chairs? What environment was available to them? I think this leads on to some companies have done that really well, and again, some companies have not done that very well. We've heard of customers, colleagues and customers talking around the furlough scheme. Some were kept really informed of what was happening. Others have had no conversations with their businesses at all, and I'm not sure what the next phase looks like, unfortunately. And I've heard, and this is really anecdotal, so I've heard that communication across the working environment is down, and it's impacting businesses' cultures and keeping people engaged within their businesses. And I think we've got all this technology available to us. I've been on Zoom every single day since we have been sort of away from the office environment. We've used Google Meetings, we've used all sorts of things, phone calls, whatever it needs to be to keep in contact. What's your thoughts? Do you see that communication has dropped off? Or do you think that people are actually coming into this new technology and embracing it?
It's probably 50-50, I would say. I mean, from a personal perspective, it has increased, and it's increased massively because I think it's given people the opportunity, anybody that's involved with networking, that are using LinkedIn and talking to people in probably outside their bubbles. So let's just take the workplace out of the context at the moment, but within the industry, I've been having a lot of conversations all over the globe with different people with different things that's led to a conversation over in Helsinki. And so for me, kind of it's been an opportunity to really kind of put myself out there and say, right, I'm going to communicate with these people outside my bubble so I can learn something new, so I can have a different type of conversation. I get that organizations may have had a communication drop. Now, I think the question is, the pandemic's probably not to blame for that. There's some questions around, what's the culture and what have the efforts been maintain the culture to the best of its ability during kind of a distributed workforce, and what work's been kind of put into that. So it's a double-edged sword, because there's part of me saying, right, if it's not working, be the change that you want to see. And what would happen in another crisis with those organizations where communication has dropped? Because when this pandemic kicked off, everyone was quite blasé, and it's like, 3 months time, we'll be back in the office. Blah, blah, blah. Almost 8 months later, that wasn't the case. We're having another month lockdown. It's not going to finish on the 2nd of December. And after this pandemic, what's going to be the next pandemic? Is there going to be an environmental crisis that causes such disruption? So I think that's about organizations having to ready themselves for disruption. When I worked as operational facilities manager, one of my roles was doing disaster recovery, business continuity. I would like to think that facilities managers are still heavily involved in that. So what is on that business continuity and disaster recovery roadmap when something comes along? How do we ensure effective communication? And by effective communication, I don't mean just checking in with people and saying, "Oh, how are you doing? Okay, brilliant." But stuff that enhances communication between digital teams to its best ability. No, we're not replacing face-to-face. We know that. We're not replacing social interaction. However, we do need to increase collaboration and communication through a digital workforce.
Yeah, and I do think if you are in a situation where you've seen a drop in communication, or you're not feeling like you're being communicated to by your business, it is a little bit around taking that charge and making the first move. Go to your line manager and book in that first meeting. It says, I want to talk to you about what's happening. I want to gain some information and sort of drive that conversation. I mean, I know it's one of the things you've just said. It's not just checking in with people, and I absolutely support that. But again, leaders that are out there, especially workplace leaders, don't underestimate how very quick check in with somebody, whether it's by phone or by Zoom or anything else, can have an impact on the way they're feeling. Especially coming again, I'm hoping we've learned so much from the first process that we're implementing lots of different things for this next month, just to make sure everybody knows exactly what's happening. But this is something that this is where technology is been amazing. We've suddenly got. I mean, if you could imagine, even 20 years ago, what the situation would be like without the Zooms, internet, etc., etc. I mean, I hate to use the word that it's any kind of privilege, because it really isn't, but it's a good place for us to be in, because we can keep communicating.
I think it's the best place for us to be in. If, like you say, if it was 20 years ago, I still don't think I was too up to speed with emails then. Yeah. So, what would have happened? I'd hate to guess.
Yeah, I think we would have. It's just that isolation, isn't it? And I don't think the businesses that have managed to rapidly change would have had the technology to do so. But this is the one thing that's in FM at the moment. Everybody's talking about technology. Everybody's talking about enhancing with IoT, sensor technology, being linked into as we do, sort of CAFM system, building management systems, the FM software market goes on. But where do you see this? Because a lot of people are seem to be pulling away from implementing technology on the fact that it might be losing some of that human interaction, or people are feeling that it's going to be taking over how an FM function works. What's your thoughts about technology and an FM and where we're going?
Well, I can understand those fears, and I think they're valid up to a certain point. But what we've got to understand is, for years, FM's been banging its head against the wall, saying, "Why aren't we part of the boardroom? Why haven't we got that chair at the boardroom table?" And it's because the life of an FM is usually bogged down in so much operational work. You know, typical FM log on to their emails on a Monday morning and have to just deal with a load of tasks that could be dealt with quite simply, and therefore they don't have the headspace to be communicating with the rest of the business about trends that are coming up, how the building's performing, how the estate's performing, how staff are performing within those environments. And you know what technology is there to do is not to replace anybody, is to enhance that experience. Technology is an opportunity when used right. Now, it should not be used just for the sake of using it. There's, you know, just because there's a technical solution, technology-based solution, doesn't mean it's better than what's already in place. But anything that gives the FM, you know, access to data to relieve themselves from the, you know, I'm trying to figure the word, the day-to-day activities, yeah, where, you know, where you're not getting much value from that FM. You know, if they're just responding to broken light bulbs and then converting that request into an order for some engineer to come out and then check and then go back and get the piece, you know, that's not time well spent, and that's stuff that can easily be replaced. And therefore, we can look at focusing energies and time and resources to more valuable assets within the organization. Let's go back to that people bit. Okay, yeah. So that person can now suddenly spend time building the relationship to understand what team A, what kind of environments they've got, or what, you know, what projects team B has got in the pipeline, which might affect how they need to adapt their services. And that's going to be one benefit of it. And the second benefit is going to be that data piece to report to the organization, you know, what's performing well, what's not, where money's getting wasted, where space is getting wasted, where assets are you know, coming to the end of the life cycle. And that's going to be really valuable to go forward. So it's nothing to fear, other than if FM providers can't get their head around it, then technology providers will kind of supersede them and just say, come on, out the way, we can do this better than you.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. I think the service providers in lots of sense still work a very old-fashioned engineering distribution model, which I think is evolving and changing, and hopefully we'll be able to take control of these sensors, the sensor information, because obviously it's very easy to take it to a simplistic place, very easy to have planned maintenance in, knowing what your engineers are doing. Having proactive planned maintenance when you need to do it adds a bit of a dynamic workflow to the whole process, and isn't as easy to plan 14, 15, 30 days ahead until you start building that trend analysis anyway. But I was chatting to someone the other day, and I'm like, this is the opportunity to communicate and be really proactive with your communication. It's not to take away that human touch. So, you know, I'm sitting there, and I've just got a notification that the air conditioning has gone down on the left-hand side of my building. Okay, I'm now emailing, communicating, whichever way we've got to go, all of the people over that side, and say, by the way, we know that there's a fault. An engineer is coming. They're coming at this time, this day, and we'll sort out the problem. The engineer arrives, deals with it. We can then communicate out saying, now we've got temperature readings, everything's perfect in your area, so we're all good and ready to go. There is another thing around car parking, as an example. Having dealt with too many cars on a very small car park, a lot of people wasted a lot of time turning up at the office to be able to try and find a car parking space. Rather than they know that the car park's full, it then can text their mobile phone or send them an email that says, don't come to the office, the car park is full, please go to the park and ride, or whatever other solution. So they're not wasting that time milling around. And also they're not getting frustrated. So I think operational of an office, it gives you the chance to connect some dots and really integrate that human behavior. So people come into work in a much fresher mood to their day, and also not feeling that they don't know the information that's there. So the air conditioning unit's broken. It's been broken for 2 days. They know nothing about it until they come and speak to FM, and generally that's with a complaint and someone come and speak to them. technology enables them to be able to follow that journey themselves, and a bit more self-service, but also understanding, which I think is going to add, if used correctly by AFMs, is going to change the way that we're really viewed in the office. And as you said, allow that human interaction and conversation, and concentrate on the things that really add value in the future.
With that, information is key, because if you're buying something online, if you're ordering takeaway, for example, everywhere tells you every stage of that journey at the moment. Your food is getting prepared, your order is getting prepared, it's out for delivery, your driver's called Sally, etc., etc. And it's like, well, okay, it's going to be 10 minutes late. We're expecting it at 7:30. It's going to be what's that, 10 minutes after 7:30, 20 to 8. That's why I failed maths. And it's like, but I know. But if I don't know, if I've requested something, or something needs done, I don't know what's happening, and you just sat there twiddling your thumbs, that's when the kind of discourse comes in.
Yeah,
you start going, well, this isn't a very good service. I'd rather have it not be perfect, but know what's going on, rather than sit there and flip of the coin. Is it going to work? Is it not going to work? Who knows?
It's nothing worse than phoning a taxi company, let's be perfectly honest, and say it's already it's on its way.
Yeah.
The next half an hour. Now you get the notification when it's left, you get the notification when it's arrived, and any in between. And that's exactly the way that technology can help us.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking about the other day. If you look at purchasing a car as an example, everything online. You search it all beforehand. You then go and double check the condition of it, and you decide whether you're going to buy it or not. But the information's there for you to really make that choice, and a very educated choice as well. We don't have that information readily available when we're looking at buildings and everything else. And I think that's where the IT changes for us. We know what the environment we're working in. We can see the temperature. We can see the air quality. We can book our seats, we can drive our car, park our car, know whether it's the right day to catch the train, all those kind of things. It enables you to plan and understand what's happening, and that just makes it much, as you said, that word, frictionless journey, and creates positivity. And is that where you see the future of the workplace and FM's involvement in the workplace?
A phrase that popped into my head, I don't know if it's the right words, but is a unified experience. So the FM's role could potentially ensuring that there's a unified experience, again, home, office, third space. What does that look like? Going back to your car parking example, you turn up, there's nowhere to park. You're driving around for 20 minutes. You park it on the grass verge on the side of the business park. You get out. It's all muddy. You get into the office. You're covered in mud and rainwater. You've had to park 10 minutes away, and suddenly your day is just ruined. And you're like, I'm in a really bad mood, so I'm not going to work straight away. I'm going to make a coffee and go, vent my frustrations at my colleague for a bit. Then I'm going to come back, and I'm not going to do a great job on this because I can't be bothered, because I spent 20 minutes looking for car parking space. And again, this is where we need to put the people first and say, right, okay, to stop that pinch point, to stop that break in the chain of the flow of activity of how they work, what do we need to do to make that right? We need a solution that says, right, that person gets notified or can book a car parking space. We know they access the office on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, therefore the likelihood of them getting a parking space is going to be a lot higher. So when they get here after that nasty commute on the M1, then they can come into their office, they're ready to go, they can, they have a lot more positive experience. Everything's a little bit sunnier and a little bit nicer. So I think that's going to be key. The other thing that's going to be key is we need to start listening. We within the organisation, there's not a lot of listening. There's a lot of telling and prescribing solutions. And suddenly it's like, well, we've got this solution, so let's just helicopter it in. and you guys work around it. Don't care what your organization does, who it is, how you work. This is the solution. And I think we need to take a step back and say, right, each individual organization is a separate entity. There's a lot of commonalities between them all. There's a lot of fundamentals that we need to get right for any organization, no matter who it was. That's a given. But each one has its own culture, going back to the comms and the culture piece. Each one has its own individuals that make up different teams. So we really need to tailor and make bespoke solutions for clients, because what works for company A doesn't work for company B. And I think that's really important. Unified experience, start listening, stop prescribing solutions and falsely labeling them as human-centric or innovative or, whatever we want to do. And thirdly, I think this is the mantra that I've been banging on a lot about recently. And I've said that. I wonder if I could do a word count on how many times I said this. Again, the people. Well-being is going to be absolutely fundamental to everything we do. No excuses. We're not on the planet now to make excuses for people's well-being. And secondly, I think looking after the environment is just, if you don't look after the people, you don't look after the environment, don't have a business.
Yeah,
I'm not interested. I'm not going to work with you. You've got something else going, which is great. I get that, but these things, as soon as they stop existing, you've got nothing else. So we really need to look at that. And there's so many ways in which the facilities management industry can interject in these areas of looking after people, looking after the environment, to create fantastic workspaces and let businesses do what they do and do really blooming well.
Yeah. No, I fully support and agree with absolutely everything you just said there.
Good.
I mean, we've got technology is going to help us deliver sort of that technical service point of view that allows us the time, the bandwidth to create something that supports people well-being. We can impact everything, and this is why I said that this isn't going to change the way. So this isn't going to stop FM. This isn't going to be a threat to FM. This is a huge opportunity, because the workplace is has changed. It will continue to change. One of the big things I'm concerned about is will it stay changed when we all got vaccines and everything else? And then will people suddenly be coming back into the office? Will we revert back and say everyone's got to be in the office, everyone's got to do this? Will we keep some of these positives? I really hope we do, and I hope we create this flexible sort of environment that puts people first. But I think for some people, there is going to be that culture shock when the offices reopen, and I think FM are going to play a huge part in that journey as well, of getting people prepared, helping people sort of communicate. Because we've got all of these offices that have been left empty, at the moment. I think some managed to get to about 30% occupancy. My question to you is, what do you think that FMs are currently doing within those buildings that are going to be supporting the future of the working environment? So in essence, they would have known there was a number of pain points for people working within that location. Are you seeing them investing any time and effort in changing the way that they're going to re-engage with that office space?
Yeah, positively, I have. And I've had a number of conversations where people have kind of, and again, it's going back to the thing we said at the beginning. There is no new. This is just an acceleration of what was coming anyway. But a lot of plans were put on hold at how the physical space is put together and the type of work environments. Now seeing those conversations starting up again, saying, right, we stopped it because of COVID. We are now reigniting this. However, we're kind of doing it more in a phased approach, a COVID-friendly approach, and then in the dreamland of a non-COVID threatened world. What does that look like? So yeah, those conversations are definitely starting again. But if you look at flip a coin. If you get a big organization, flip a coin. They're either saying go on back to the office or no, stay at home. and that's really interesting. Now, there's a report by JLL done in October, so during these times, and I can't remember the other report from last year, but I was looking at these two reports, and there's interviewing kind of global leaders for large organizations. There's going to be about a 30% flexible space within a lot of corporate real estate strategies, which I find is really interesting. And I won't go into what is flexible space, and if we're talking co-working space or predefined space within an organization, that's a long conversation. But currently, in Europe, we've got about between 2 and 5% flexible office space. That's going to be going up to 30%. That's a massive increase. So we're seeing organizations say, right, we understand the value in choice. We be it office, third space, home, whatever it is, we know we need to get choice. There's a massive, massive cultural and people piece that goes underneath that. That's a given. I'm not going to speak about that. I'm not qualified to speak about that. But large businesses are realizing that this is going to be fundamental to how they develop their estate strategy. And off the back of that, what opportunities does that bring? Can they open up some of their own space to other people and use it as an innovation hub to get ideas and collaborate with people outside of their bubbles? So trust, choice, it's all coming along. We just need to make sure we do a good job of it and don't.
It's accepting, isn't it, the change, and as I say, we've got the buildings. We now got the technology that enables us to manage those buildings. And then we've just got to work on how those people are going to interact with the technology and with the building, and how that creates them a working environment, as you say, in multiple different locations, being an office, being at home, being a third space, whatever it might well be. You can create a perfect word, centric working environment for them. So one that's just enables them to have the same kind of experience in multiple different areas.
Yep.
And that is where FM is going to be going. And that's where FM, the future of the building and FM is going to be. So we've got to embrace all of this change, all of this technology. But as you say, for each different business, it's going to mean something slightly different. And that's understanding what it is that the people and the business need and joining that together into a solution.
Yeah.
I mean, awesome insights, Will, as normal. Really, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
for everyone that's listened in. I hope you found it useful. I think there's some great takeaways in there. And I'm looking forward to sort of seeing what the next 5-10 years of FM can bring.
Yeah, let's just get on with it and get it done instead of talking about it now.
Perfect. Take care, Will. Take care.
Cheers, Adam.
See you. Bye.